want to kind of, for us to think a little bit about this, because if you think about it, Paul, when it comes to age, right, the concept of age, how old you are, your date of birth, these are relatively new concepts, right? If you really think about it. Like, I don't want to embarrass my dad, but my dad doesn't know what his date of birth was. Okay, he's from a village he was from a town, but the circumstances of his birth were such that it wasn't the norm, even in India, right, until very recently, for people to record their dates of birth or to even care that much about things like that. Do you see what I mean? Instead, what they would do is they would look at a child's maturity, look at a child's, mental development, physical development, and based on that, they would allocate jobs to the child or, consider them ready for this stage of life or that stage of life. So we have to appreciate that this idea of counting people's maturity based on their age, based on how many years they've been alive, is relatively new. In the past, it was more about biological development. And it kind of makes sense. That actually makes sense, because when a girl reaches puberty, for example, and a girl could reach puberty when she's as young as 9, even nowadays, right? Technically, she can have a baby, right? Which means that, at least naturally speaking, her body is able to have a baby, is able to have relations, right? That might not be the case for every person and for every culture, okay? But at least biologically, we can say that the possibility for getting pregnant is there. And so what they used to do in those times is, so they might agree on a marriage, and then later on, when the child reaches a certain age, when I say age, I mean maturity, when they reach a certain maturity, the parents would say, okay, I think my daughter's ready now, I think my daughter or my son are ready now to live with their spouse. So they would start living together. Unfortunately, in our times, because the only kind of versions of a child, first of all, we don't even think of marriage, right? It's not even marriage. Whenever we hear of any kind of relationship between a child and an adult, it's usually some perverted situation, some disgusting story about, a perverted individual who's abusing children, right? So unfortunately, when those people in modern times try to project that onto the biography of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're actually saying a lot more about their own culture and their own times than they are about the Prophet's culture and the Prophet's times, right? And they're engaging in something that scholars call presentism, which is where you project the norms and customs of the present onto the past and make moral judgments about people in the past.